The attack that we'll talk about today is the first part of the 4 dimensions of attacks that Shaytan declares he will get the sons of Adam. Where he says, لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ. So, if you pick up the translation of the Quran and you read it, it says, Shaytan will attack you from in front, and that's it. You move on to the next bit. Well, there's actually very, very deep contextual meaning I need you to comprehend and understand. Literally in Arabic, for us to explain what min bayni aydihim means, if anybody was to stand up and put their hand out like this space that's in front of you symbolically is min bayni aydihim. So in simple English, Shaytan is saying, I'm going to get up right in their face and attack them from right in between their hands. The question is, we don't see the Shaytan, we don't hear the Shaytan. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lead you to hear? What is this attack of min bayni aydihim, or what is right in front of you? What is it that it signifies? Basically, the Shaytan will tap into the emotion of impulsiveness that is inside every single human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about this emotion that's inside of us, بَلْ يُرِيدُ الْإِنسَانُ لِيَفْجُرَ أَمَامَهُ. The human being wants to just jump into what's right in front of it. And in another verse he says, كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. Verily, you love quick success. Verily, you love hastiness. Verily, you love to catch just what's right in front of you. And as we explained in the series in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's principle that is teaching you in fasting is that if you want long-term success, you can't just keep going for the short-term success. You've got to be having long-term vision and perseverance and patience. So Shaytan literally gets in front of you and blocks you from seeing what is beyond what's literally in front of you. What's literally in front of us? Life. How busy it is, family, work, this, that. Now these things in themselves are not a problem. But what Shaytan does is that he blocks you from seeing the bigger purpose. He blocks you from seeing the hereafter. So you lose perspective. And the biggest disaster for a Muslim is to lose their perspective. So their perspective becomes just what's right in front of me. And we lose the bigger, number one perspective and priority, which is getting ready to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how does that attack translate in everyday life? Because when a Muslim begets, or the Shaytan is successful in blocking you from remembering that perspective, your micro decisions every day will start changing. Your micro decisions every day, your life decisions every day start changing because you have forgotten the bigger perspective. You start following the decisions of the people that are focusing on this world. So I will start making decisions career-wise, education-wise, family-wise, colleagues-wise, recreation-wise, based on the perspective of what's immediately in front of me. So you basically become a sheep and you just follow everybody. And you see that with human beings. Human beings without guidance, human beings who don't have the perspective of the hereafter, just follow what everybody else is doing. They have no dignity. It's not because they are low as such, but they have fallen for that trap. They have lost the perspective of the hereafter because the Shaytan is just in their face. And in these days, because of your phone and because of the mass communication, it's basically bombardment just to do what's in front of you and forget about the hereafter. So people, never mind the hereafter, they start doing things that they don't want to hear about the consequences, which is unfortunate. And it is no coincidence, as a Muslim, you understand the history of the beginning of this ummah. It is no coincidence that the first 13 years, Prophet ﷺ, all he spoke to the new Muslims was not about pray 5 times a day, was not about fast or give zakat, none of that. Believe in Allah and the hereafter. Believe in Allah and the hereafter. 13 years straight. Only then, only when that perspective was set and concrete in the minds of the Muslims, did the commandments come down. So it is not by coincidence that the first thing the Shaytan wants you to do is to forget that first thing that cemented that golden generation. Because when you lose that perspective, the battle is going to be lost with the Shaytan. And that is why for a Muslim to not connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis is not only a disaster on the day of judgment, not fulfilling your prayers and not doing your Quran and not doing this, the obligatory things, is not only accountable on the day of judgment, but it makes you forget this fundamental thing. Because the attack of the Shaytan is coming. His minions and his supporters are all around you, telling you, focus on this world, focus on this world, focus on this world. This message is coming 24/7. What are you counteracting that with if you're not connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you're not counteracting it, it's going to go into your mind and its psychology is going to change you, and you're just going to focus about just what's in front of you, and that's it. You forget about the hereafter. Even though theoretically you say, yes, I know we're going to die. Yes, I know we're going to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, I believe in the day of judgment. It's just lip service. In your heart and in your mind, these words don't lead to decisions that are focused on that goal. You just repeat Jum'ah prayer, you just repeat Ramadan, but your everyday life decisions are basically what's in front of you, and that's it. Whether it's your culture, whether it's your friends, whether it's your schoolmates, whether it's your work colleagues, but nothing with the perspective of the hereafter. So be wary. Be wary of this attack. When you wake up in the morning, what decisions do you make? What paths are you following? If these paths are all within line of the perspective of the hereafter, blessed. You are blessed. But if you're just following what everybody else is doing, if you are just following what you think is right without regard to the bigger perspective of the hereafter, and all you do is just follow what everybody's doing in front of you, be wary. That's the number one attack of the Shaytan. The second thing that the Shaytan wants to do with the attack from in front is basically to be obsessed with materialism and things you can touch. To be obsessed with materialism and things that you can touch. And that is different for every single different generation as such. For the elder generation, it could be in status at work or status in front of the community, or the specs of my house or the specs of my car or the wedding that I'm going to hold. For the young ones, it could be the sneakers or the cool clothes that they wear or this or that. But basically, he makes you become obsessed with these things, whether they're valuable or not. And he makes you forget that all of these things are going to go the moment that you die. And does anybody disagree that we're all going to die? Nobody disagrees about that. So all these things that you are materialistically becoming obsessed with, they are really valueless, because the moment you die, you leave them behind. Now that doesn't mean that you don't go out and look for a good house or nice clothes and nice cars. That's not the point. But the point is when you become obsessed with constantly upgrading, and don't you see that in real life now? Kids are obsessed with upgrading from this to this, from this to this, from this to this. The older generation are obsessed with, can we reach the next KPI? Can we reach the next KPI? But are they all in line with the biggest KPI, which is meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or not? So when you start to see that your thought process is, just obsessed with just gaining the next thing and the next thing and the next thing at the expense of the biggest goal, which is meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be wary. You are falling to one of the attacks of the Shaytan.